Now that I think about it, I don't know if this video gave me a copyright strike or not from Fox. If if you want to see the video and you're not on Twitter, I can put it on Telegram or Gab or somewhere else for you. So I guess, kind of a test video. Click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute to support my vitally important work. A small donation on coffee, or be sure to join the Telegram. Or actually, technically on coffee, I don't know if I should say this, but you can join and follow for free if you want to. If you really don't have the money, it's fine. You can get on there for free. It's just a good way to keep in touch. Telegram's a good way to keep in touch also. The Ministry of Truth. Yeah, may you live in interesting times. Yeah, I didn't think I would live to see this. That was inconceivable, and I'm not that old. And I didn't think I would live to see the next Civil War, which I'm not to be some, tinfoil hat hyperbolic. It's not a question of saying, oh, we're definitely going to have these events in the future. It's just a needle that points to more and more likely as time goes on. It kind of is what it is. So the power of the written word, if it wasn't for 1984 by George Orwell, which I think was written in the 50s, we would be in a more difficult position in describing America's new Ministry of Truth. Though, to be fair, there was, A Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451, and a few other books. But 1984, like, those books were kind of lighter, more humorous. 1984 was dark. It was interesting, but it was a dark read. Where A Brave New World is actually kind of a fun. It's kind of a humorous take on fiction. If you read the first, you can just read the first 20 pages of it to kind of get the. They're just doing the most insane things, and it's played straight, but it's funny. And actually, that movie is on. It's on YouTube. You can hunt around for it, and it's in a low definition on YouTube, but it's a higher definition, I believe, on Odyssey. You can search for it there. So this is her new Ministry of Truth from Biden, Mayorkas, and this is Nina Jankowicz. All we have to do is mention 1984 or Orwellian, and people kind of know where we're going with this. And, really, in that regard, books are magic, and maybe the written word is the true magic, or the concept of writing things down. I mean, math, they thought, like, when they were playing around with math back in the day, they thought it was like a connection to the spiritual, which the concept of writing itself, math or the word, might be a connection to the spiritual. Anyway, so if I'm not the one to talk about that, though. If anything is going to ascend and elevate man, it's going to be his ability to write and pass on knowledge to future generations, who can then kind of stand on the shoulders of that kind of thing. So now we're climbing down off the shoulders and getting a shovel. So the funny thing about the new Ministry of Truth is the concept is not exactly all bad, but don't get me wrong, I know it will 100% guaranteed be used for an evil purpose. Well, it's true, all the fact checkers I see online now are completely biased, partisan, nothing more than propaganda. I mean, they will literally gaslight you. They'll tell you one thing. There's so many lines out of 1984 where it's like they tell you not to believe the thing you see before your eyes. Chocolate rations are going up, and it's like, they're going down, or we were always at war with Oceania. It's like we were never at war with Oceania. You get the idea. They will tell you things that literally you see before you, and it's like they try to interpret it a different way. And, some I don't know if I want to talk about the Asian issue in America with the Asian victims of stuff, and they go, "Oh, no, what you're seeing is not actual reality." It's like, yeah, it is, because we see 100 videos on social media that are showing one correlation, and you're telling us that it doesn't exist. Anyway, so while fact checkers are complete garbage nowadays, I mean, they're insanely partisan, to the point where you can read them and archive them and screen cap them and share them with people, just to show you, like, what bad propaganda is all about. Good propaganda is like CNN and Fox. Bad propaganda is the fact checkers, because they don't have enough to work with. Anyway, so it is theoretically possible to give an unbiased opinion. That is possible, but it's just never done, because someone is going to be pulling the strings financially, and it requires an almost religious dedication to trying to be impartial and unbiased. And you've got to be very, very open with the people who are writing these articles, and you go, okay, listen, this is my history. I'm right of center. These are the way I voted in the past, my entire life. These are my positions on all these prior issues. And I'm going to try to be as impartial as possible. And someone on the left has to come forward and do the same thing. It's like you get together and you'd have to have this religious adherence to trying to be open and upfront as possible. But it is possible. It's just you're never going to see it. For example, you could have an unbiased or as close to unbiased as possible source look at a situation overseas. And, when I said that, I was thinking of Ukraine, but really it's like any situation overseas. There's another one that's going on now, but to even mention it on YouTube will get your channel struck. And you could issue an opinion piece, but it might not agree with the official government action and would definitely be politically incorrect because it would be mentioning politicians getting, special interests taken care of. Elizabeth Warren is worth over $100 million. Nancy Pelosi is worth over $100 million. Maxine Waters has got like 4 mansions. Schumer, Bernie Sanders, they've all have probably, if you look, I don't want to say criminal activity. If you look deeply enough, you probably would find criminal activity. So no, you're not going to have a government agency report on itself. It would be great if it did. Oh, we'll get those Trump. We'll get that Trump. It's like, hey, I'm not saying the right is any better than the left, but there are plenty of, like Elizabeth Warren and the two I just mentioned are probably the most ridiculous. Bernie Sanders is up there too, but Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi are worth over $100 million. That's insane that we allow that to happen. That's insane that we haven't got the torches after constitutional due process and pitchforks and sought redress for that grievance. But, it's not that you get what you vote for so much. It's what you get what you get when you don't really take a part, when you don't go for city council, school boards, local elections, when you don't run for mayors, when you don't get your groups together to fund and get people running for state office. And the groups that do have in-group preferences and that do have financial resources and financial networks, I can't say them on YouTube, they elect their people in office. That's why you see a lot of blue cities, is because they have their groups with in-group preferences and financial networks. And we don't have that, though, as I've been talking about on Twitter, Gab, Telegram, Odyssey, and Bit Chute, we need to start doing that. Start doing things very, very differently for, I don't know what you want to call our team. You know what I'm talking about. So while theoretically it is possible, in the real world, it would be just nothing more than a mouthpiece for the government. The government will commit an act, then the Ministry of Truth will explain why it's the correct act. I mean, it's obviously insanely nonsense. And I mean, this might even be a bridge too far for even the left wing. Because I don't see a lot of left-wing support for it. The right-wing, Boebert and MTG and a bunch of those DeSantis and a bunch of the other right-wing people are coming out against it, but I'm not seeing left-wing people come out in support for it. The standard globalists are coming out, and I've screen capped all the globalist support for Jankowicz supporting. I put it on Gab. It's hysterical to see like exactly who you suspect is supporting this woman to be the minister of truth. But the precedent it sets is insanely dangerous. We now have the government telling us what the truth is with a capital T. So you're going to have people refer back to a government opinion or propaganda that is presented as a fact, but it's just the government position coming from a paid mouthpiece. It's just self-referential. You're the source, and then it's like another branch of your refers back to the source as the source, and then you move forward from that. They do that. Unfortunately, the media does that now. But like I said, the media has not been the media in at least 20 years. So the left is maybe 10 years. The left is very focused on the new good speak term of disinformation, which means that they call their opinions the truth, but they call the opinions on the right disinformation. It's actually a brilliant work of propaganda, which is only possible because they control the media and social media, or they did. Twitter with Elon Musk is a whole different beast. Before Elon Musk, I got, a handful of mutuals. It means they subbed to me and I followed back on Twitter a day. I don't know, just a handful. I don't even know. I didn't even keep track of it. Less than a dozen, I guess. After Elon Musk, that has gone up yesterday to 100. So far in 12 hours, it's already 100. It's probably going to be 200 today in 24 hours. 200 mutuals on Twitter. All the people on the right are blowing up. I've never experienced something like this before. to get over 100 mutuals on an account that started with 300 subs that were kind of got before the shadow ban, and then the shadow ban comes off, and you go from a dozen mutuals a day to, so far it's up to like 150 today, and the day is half done. The 24-hour period is it's absolutely nuts. It's like, oh, so you guys were shadow banning the whole time. Well, politics is downstream from culture, is downstream from discussion, from media and social media where people talk. So Twitter is going to change the game. I don't know how long it's going to be like this, but you're going to see a movement to the right politically. There's no way to get around that, because now people on the right have freer speech. Before they didn't have that. We're obviously going to move to the right. Now, all the people on the far right, which in some regards I'm on the far right on some issues, it's not going to go to the far right. The country just isn't set up for that. It just has too many different groups of people. So it will come back to the center a little bit, and a little bit maybe to the right, but it's not going to go to the far right. You would need to set off like different states, like have different ideological regions, which, originally the 50 states were set up for that. If you're reading about the founding fathers, I don't think you're ever going to go back to that, because don't get me wrong, that like the standard neocon rhino right is just as useless as the left, because as soon as they get in power, either in the federal level, they don't want to say, okay, we need to return power to the 50 states. It's like, well, they're at the federal level giving themselves raises every year. They're not going to do that either. It's like when you say you need a new party, you need a more based party, like even way more based than anything that has ever come before, like the Tea Party kind of stuff. No. I mean, to talk about the men who are behind the curtains right now, and like you hear how amorphous, how circumspect I am on YouTube. Because you can't even talk about it on YouTube. It's like we should have had a Bill of Rights for social media where your free speech is protected on social media. It's kind of weird that the government never did anything about that. Social media is the new town square. For the First Amendment to have any meaning whatsoever, you absolutely have to have free discourse, free expression on social media. If you don't like it, you can simply block or mute somebody. You don't have to be forced to listen to somebody. But to compel speech and take away somebody's speech is an anthem to what ordered liberty of the United States is all about, is what we as free people want to move towards, is everybody at the table, from the far left to the far right. All voices, the open marketplace of ideas, sunlight being the best disinfectant. Now, here's the thing. I can say that confidently being on the right on most issues, because I think the right has better ideas, and the left doesn't want open discourse because they don't have good ideas. They deplatform and they censor. The right says, oh no, hey, read whatever you want, watch all the videos you want. We'll get together and talk. We don't have to do some formal shouting debate. We can just sit down and with a cup of tea and cookies and talk politely and, video it and put it out there and make the videos. And it's like the right wants to talk. The left doesn't. They want to censor and deplatform. Right off the bat, listen, the truth doesn't fear investigation. If you tell me that you don't want to talk about some political issue, you tell me you have a weaker argument. I mean, you couldn't be any more clear than that. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I hope if this gets struck, I'll just put it on Odyssey and Bit Chute. And I'll see you guys all next episode.